So let me let me know if you guys can see this. Just posted in Momentum. Jay, can you hear me? Mhm. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started. I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, guys, so this is the Thinkorswim tutorial for small cap and momentum. We have kind of a lot to cover. I'll try and get through all of it, and I guess the objective is to kind of get you started and let you see the power of Thinkorswim. And um, it's really not anything. There's no right way or wrong way to do any of these things. I just want to show you guys what you can do, and then it's up to you guys to decide how you want to go about doing things. Okay, so the first thing is like logging in, get it, and I'll show you certain stuff for logging in. So this is the login screen that you guys will generally see. And what happens is, obviously you guys know Paper Live, but there's this setting button here that you can change, obviously your language, color scheme, and I guess this is probably the most important thing right here, which is the memory usage. So generally the rule of thumb is, let's say you have 8 gigabytes of RAM, you kind of want to allocate 60% of that because you guys might be doing other stuff in the background. So you can't dedicate 100% of Thinkorswim, or else you will kind of lag your entire computer out. But once again, I'd say dedicate 60% of that um, to Thinkorswim. Oh, and make sure you don't click any of this, because the other day I clicked something and it kind of messed up all my saved files. So this is a backup that Thinkorswim does, and it saves everything on their server. So make sure you don't click any of this unless you need to go back and, So I'm just going to log in here. Hello, is there no sound? Oh, so for people joining in, unmute the YouTube stream because I'm not going to be in Discord. Okay, I'm just making sure because I see people saying they can't hear. So I would just... Okay, so I'm just going to continue. Okay, so basically you log in. This is what you guys might see, might not, but the first thing that I always suggest people doing, like you guys can see my account information here. You know, this is a paper trading account, so you know, I'm in no jeopardy. But the first thing I always suggest people to do is to come in here and click privacy. The reason why is when you do, it will hide everything, just about everything. And that way, when you do take screenshots or whatever, all this will be hidden from everybody. And that's basically the first thing I suggest everyone doing. And then the second thing I suggest everyone doing is clicking the settings button here right under setup. So why I suggest this is, say if you're a pattern day trader and you don't know how many day trades you have left, you can always add this here, and you can add how many day trades and it'll keep track of it right around here. You can add other cool things like, you know, say you play options. Where is the options? You can add this to your list and you'll keep track of options buying power. You can keep track of, you know, maybe you want to keep track of how many commissions you've spent, which I do. Where is that? Equities and commissions year to date. You can see that and it will tell you and keep track of everything up here. So continuing on, that's the first thing. Now the second thing I would say is setup, application settings. So here's the big thing. This is very, very important when it comes to Thinkorswim. Thinkorswim, for some reason, likes to default level 2 data to delayed information, and I don't know why that is, but make sure you come in here, whether it's your paper or live account, come in here and go to system. So when you come into here, you should see quote speeds have real time, no delay. This is like the most important thing you should do and take away from the entire webinar today is this. Make sure this is on real time, no delay. It should default to moderate, but make sure you come in here and do real time, no delay. Also, if you do use Active Trader, I suggest you do the same thing. Come in here, it says AT submission rate limit, and you put it at 0 ms, so there's no latency issues. So in here, you guys can also do notifications. So basically, this is your entire setup and settings that you will do to the entire platform. You can limit how many orders you want to make, like the largest and the smallest amount of quantities. Hotkeys, which is really important. So like, for example, these are not mine. So like, let's say I want to make a hotkey for a certain tab. I would come in here, custom, and shift, and do shift 1. So then I would hit apply if I wanted to apply it. And then on top of that, I would say come in here as well and change your profile. The reason why this, I'll touch upon this later, but just come in here, change your profile, put a username, nickname, whatever, and if you want to fill in all that. This will allow you to interact on the Thinkorswim community. So if you're interested in that, I suggest do that as well. And then just click apply settings. So basically that's the really, oh, and also on top of that, if you want to, a lot of people in Thinkorswim will have shared codes. So let's say I needed to share a script or a scanner with Jay or anyone in the Limitless chat room. I will create a shared code and then I would send it to you, and all you have to do is click open shared item and then paste the shared code in here, click preview and click open, and it will open whatever I shared with that following person. So a lot of people share scripts like this, a lot of people share charts and scanners as well. Okay, so now that's kind of all out of the way. We can actually get to the meat of Thinkorswim. Um, I'll go from right to left on these tabs, and that's very counterintuitive because Thinkorswim actually wants you to go left to right. They put the most important stuff on the left and the least important stuff on the right. I'm going to go the opposite because I think a lot of people think charting is the most important, which it is. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the help function. So the help function is really important, obviously, because it tells you all the information you need to contact your broker, email, everything. All these links are pretty much dead. They have not updated this. So just make sure you know your broker's number and stuff like that. So the reason why I'm telling you to come in here is because they've just recently added this where you can click systems and you can see how much resources you're allocating to Thinkorswim, whether it's bytes sent, amount of quote speeds you've updated since you've launched the application. The green line is your RAM essentially, and the red line is basically your internet. And this gets crazy. Obviously, it's the weekend, so it's gonna be much lower. So that's basically it. And then we are going to tools if it decides to load. Okay, so that profile I talked about in the setup here, this is what I'm talking about. This is a really, really cool function that Thinkorswim does. It's basically the entire Thinkorswim community. You can come in here, share trades, share scripts, post things, just like a blog. Like, let's see, this guy made an SPX trade. It's an options trade, obviously, but he made a trade and he shared it. You can join people's pages as well. See, I posted something for somebody wanted something from the community. So you can come in here and do all that. I do recommend coming in here. There are some great people that I personally like to follow. Let's see if I can find one of them. This guy. Perfect. So this guy, he's mainly a large cap options player, but he writes really good reports in the sense that financial reports, and a lot of his trades he posts. He says like, okay, this is what you have to do, blah blah blah. But I suggest like spending an hour or so, poke in here and see what you can find. There's a lot of videos, mainly routed from Reuters, that you can watch. Shared items is what you post basically, but this is a really powerful and great community. The people in here are really, really friendly, surprisingly. Oh, sorry. Talking about the community, I forgot to mention this. When you come in here, up here on the support chat, you can talk to live agents and brokers, and sometimes I have to do this through normal market hours because I have problems and issues with my platform. I do suggest this because they generally take about 5 minutes to respond, which is quicker than on the phone. And they can basically, if you have issues, they can basically hijack your Thinkorswim platform to see what the issue is and to figure out how they can help you. And then on top of that, you can come into the chat rooms. You can join the chat rooms, which because I'm probably in my paper account, I'm not able to benefit from this, but you can see I can join the traders chat room, futures, and then that trader I follow, Shadow Trader, he's in here, and you can watch global news. So they'll post headlines of global news that change the economic and financial world essentially. You can come in here and you can talk on there, and this is just basically your audio settings. Seminars is a great place. If you guys don't know anything about Thinkorswim and you want to get started, once again, this is the paper account, so this won't load, but come in here and go through this, and like you can type anything. So like let's say you're interested in um, technicals or something. Type in technicals, and it will post, or sorry, it will search the entire database of these seminars for technical analysis and stuff. And here's the thing that's really weird. Thinkorswim doesn't label their seminars. They label them by date, but if you search them, they will automatically update their entire list and search through which seminars are related to technicals. It's really strange, don't ask me, but they do that for some reason. So that's that, and then we're going to go to charting now. So the next tab is charting, and let me get rid of some of this stuff. Okay, so the first thing about charting is, one second. The first thing about charting is, I think the most important thing is your setup. So if you want to click this gear symbol here, you'll have this setup, and you can come in here, and this will apply to all of your charts. So I suggest coming in here, and everyone's going to be a little different. I personally don't like to see my orders on my chart. I know some people do. I don't like to see my entry because I found that when I know my entry, all I'm doing in my head, instead of paying attention to the chart, is going, oh, I made 10 cents a share. And, you know, everyone's going to be a little different, but you can show your orders here, take them off, take them on. It's totally up to you. But what I'm going to highlight here is if you see this little kind of arrow button here, all these arrows here, when you click them, what this enables you is this creates a menu into the style menu here. So you don't have to come in here and click settings and then, you know, click this on and off. You can create like just a button up here, and I'll show you guys that. So generally some of the stuff I like to put on that menu is I like to put I like to put show price as a percentage. So if you can see, I click this, it's slightly white in color and this is not. So I just pin this to the menu bar, and you can just basically go in here and do or pin what buttons you would like on there. And you can go further, and let's say you wanted to change the color of all this. These are hideous colors, by the way. So I just changed a bit of the colors, you know, equities. This is for anything. So if you want CNBC video, you can pin it onto the bar. This is a really cool feature that Thinkorswim has. It's called social sentiment. You can pin this onto the menu as well. And another one that I like to keep on is this one, show extended trading hours. Sometimes I like to see the trading, the pre-market and aftermarket. Sometimes I feel like it's too cluttered, so I'll keep this off sometimes, but I like to pin that as well. If you go to price action, you can also expand the area. So you can expand the top of the chart. Sometimes you don't have enough room, and you can expand the bottom. I like to put 5%, which let's see if I'll do that right now. And this will give me basically 5% of the price on the bottom and 5% of the price on the top, and it just allows me to gives me more room to draw tools and draw trend lines and stuff. And you can also do the expansion area to the right. So let's say this is too tight here. You know, some people might want more space. Let's, you know, go in here and type in 20 bars to the right, and you can click apply. And as you can see, the entire chart moved down a bit, up a bit, and to the left a bit. So now I have more dead space on the top and bottom and the right. Click OK, and all those menu tabs that we pinned should be in here, as you can see. show price as a percentage. I can click that on. You know, this is the worst thing to pin, but some people like it. Show social sentiment. So not all stocks will have this, but let's type in the one that I know that does. Okay, so Apple, as you can see, there's this bar here that says social sentiment. And what this tells you is basically the social sentiment of Apple. And it will take all the collective social media tweets, whether it's Instagram or whatever, and they catalog them and rate them on a scale of positive or negative or neutral. And you can see that, you know, sometimes people use this as a leading indicator. I don't suggest it, but some people think that it helps. That's, you know, for you guys to decide. Not every stock will have this. So you gotta look through the TD website and see which stocks have social sentiment. I'm gonna take this off for now because it's kind of useless. Sorry, I'm gonna go back and add something. I'm gonna add the show extended hours. And basically what I just did was, if I go into the 1 minute chart, there we go. If I go here, and as you can see, the highlighted extended hours are here in the gray, and I pin the option menu here to take it off, so I can just take it off easily, and there it is. It just goes away. It's easier just to come in here than, you know, go through the kind of motions of all that clicking, so it's easier to do that. Let's see, what's next? Okay, so the next is, I'm gonna jump to the PowerPoint really quickly. Oops. Okay, so next is something that the paper account doesn't have. Right on the right hand side, if you guys are logged into your live account, there's gonna be a patterns button to the right here. And what this enables you to do is essentially tell thinkorswim to highlight every single pattern it has. You guys can, as you can see right here, there is a patterns button to the right of it, and you can enter and use that. It'll pop up a menu bar. Sorry, pop up a window, and the window will allow you to add certain patterns. And here's the caveat. This is a computer, right? And it's gonna hit or miss. So according to the person who programmed thinkorswim, the best patterns to use with this in conjunction with your technical analysis are going to be triangles and channels. Those are going to be the best two. The other ones are really, really hit or miss. We're talking, it might be unusable. So the person who designed thinkorswim said that these are the two best patterns he uses from time to time. And he uses this as kind of a fallback where he'll go in, chart the pattern with the trend lines and whatnot, and then he will use this as basically, maybe one day he's like tired, he misses it, but he'll use this. And you can come in here, click the question mark, and it'll tell you what the pattern looks like. As you go through the menus, you can adjust how sensitive you want the computer to pick it up, what direction, how long the pattern should be before it picks it up, stuff like that. The sensitivity, you know, weak, strong. It's basically going to pick up lots or very little of the patterns. And basically you can change the color, you know, stuff like that. And once you click apply, this is something that you will see. So this is on AMD on a 30-minute chart. And you can see that thinkorswim just drew all these lines for me, and I didn't have to do anything. Sorry, I have to get some water. And that's basically the patterns. I don't recommend you guys, you know, relying on this. Like, basically, this is something where, you know, you're charting 99% of the time, and this is your maybe 5% fallback or something like that, where you might have missed something. I personally don't use this, but I'm just pointing it out for you guys that it is pretty important. So I'm just going to go back to my paper account. Okay, so that's the patterns. Okay, so drawings is next. And I need you guys to go back into settings and go to tools. And this is my personal preference, so it's not generally, you know, you guys might not like this, but what I like to do is I like to put my tools on each chart. So I'm going to click this and show you what it does, but you can use any of these. Single panel will pop out a panel. I really don't like that. It's basically a floating panel. So come in here, click apply, and you'll see this thing that just dropped down. So you can come in here, and you guys know your drawing tools are all down here, you know, whatever you want. Let's add a trend line here. So as you can see, I added a trend line, and I just want to point something out for those that don't know. You can come in here, edit the trend line. So let's say that every time I use this trend line, I don't want it to be this color. I can come in here, change the trend line, and save as default. So now, moving forward, anytime I draw a trend line, this is what it's going to default as. So let's save it as default. Save as default and click OK. So now every time I draw a trend line, it's going to be this color. So stuff like this saves time, you know. So it should just default as the same. Yep. And you can do this with every single drawing. Let's say you don't like the look of it. You can save it as whatever default and whatever color you want. And in here, you can also save different drawing sets on a menu. Let's say that this you want a certain drawing set for certain charts. So what I mean by that is, let's say, come in here, year to date, and I have notes, like let's say Apple. They had a meeting here that was really important, and I wanted to highlight that. Let's say they did a developers conference. And I can just add notes to the chart, and I have certain charts that have notes only and certain charts that have technicals only. So I can come in here, save as, save drawing sets as. So let's say this is all for my meetings and notes, so I will call this events. So I will start to save, like, let's say Apple on Friday dropped Oprah Winfrey as their creative content manager or whatever. I made that up, but you guys get the idea. But so oops. So let's say I'll add all these notes to my chart, and obviously when you're doing technical analysis, you want to see your chart as clean as possible. So you can save different drawing sets here. So I can save another one called, you know, or keep it on default even if you want. As you can see, this is still here. But if I go back to events, which is the same thing, but let's make a new one. So create drawing set, and I'll name this technicals. So everything's gone again, but let's mock up the chart real quick. And then let's say I want this, and this will be my technicals or something like that, right? So you guys can save that. And then day-to-day basis, oops, I've saved too many. But day-to-day basis, you can go back and see events, you know, keep your charts as clean as possible. At the same time, you're not deleting anything. Okay, so now I'm going to just show you how to do alerts. So let's say you're interested in trading Apple. You right-click on alerts. Right-click on the chart, sorry. Create an alert. And if you create an alert, you get all this. There's a lot of hidden features in here. So let's say you want to create an alert when price action goes below 186.56. You can click create. You can have other things as well, like, you know, bid ask, volume index. You can do any of these alerts you want. Even let's say as simple as you want to trade this stock only when the price action moves below a moving average, let's say. So I can create an alert here saying, hey, warn me when the price of Apple falls below my moving average. And I can type a note because sometimes you create a lot of alerts and you can't remember what the alert was for, which happens to me a lot. So I normally type in the notes and to give myself a reminder. You have other options down here, such as, you know, what sounds they make. This one here is basically when you create, it will show your alert bank. Basically, you can go in there and see what other alerts you have on other tickers, and then you can hit create. And once you hit create, it will draw a line. I'm just gonna do for last price, but should draw a line. There you go, and it will warn me when that price breaches that. So continuing on, the studies. This is probably going to be, sorry, let me go back. You're going to click on the beaker and you're going to edit studies. So you can add how many studies you want to whatever you want. And if you're good at coding, you can also create your own by clicking create. I'm just going to add a few simple ones like let's say moving averages. Oh, let's do exponential since I'm an exponential person. Moving exponential, I'm just going to add 2. And as I add 2, I'm going to change some of the settings. So it's at 9 right now, which is fine. But let's say I wanted, because I'm blind, let's say I wanted a width of 2, and I want this to always be pink. You can do the same thing. Save as default will make sure that whenever you add this study, in the future, it will always come out this way. So you can do that. And then obviously reset to factory means exactly what it means. Go in here, same thing. Let's do this to 20. And let's save this as white. So, and then save as default. So then you can click apply. And there's your studies. And then what happens is, let's say you have study sets. After your study sets, you can save them and automatically load. Oops, wrong one. Go to the studies button, and you can load as many studies as you want. So like I have really ancient, archaic ones that I was trying out when I first started trading. You can load them, swap in between them, and this saves time so you don't have to constantly add, remove. And it's a great way of also, you know, there's certain study sets that you may use on a daily or on a different day, and you can go in here and just like load them. Like let's see what, I don't even know what any of this is anymore. Okay, so apparently this is a RSI MACD, but you guys get the idea that it came in here just basically loaded. And that thing that I added up here, this is what's going to save you the most amount of time. This is a bar that allows you to add study sets or tools onto this. And unfortunately, Thinkorswim has limited you to 7 buttons on this, which is annoying. So let's say, I'm going to change this, but let's say you come in here and there's certain studies you want on your chart sometimes, and there's certain studies you don't want. So let's come in here and change this button, and let's put it to, what's a good study? Let's say everyone loves the TTM squeeze. Perfect. So I added TTM squeeze. So now let's say I'm trading on an inch, and then let's also add a study set. So come in here, you can add any of your study sets that you want saved, and I'm going to just do the top one for convenience. And I'm going to click done. So now I added 2, and you can also add drawings as well instead, so you don't have to come down here. You can come in here, and let's say I was charting this and I'm like, you know what, I want to see a TTM squeeze. I'm going to hit TTM squeeze, and it'll automatically add this study down here. And as it adds the study, you're like, you know what, I don't want it again. I don't need it. So you can come in here and go back to your original study set, and you know, that's a good way of just flip-flopping studies in and out, in and out. You know, how you use it is going to be totally up to you, but it's something that I use on a regular basis. Okay, so the next thing is, this is the flexible grid. I kind of forgot to explain that. It basically allows you to, it's exactly what it says, flex grid. You can create as many as you want. You can move windows around. So I'm going to just briefly show you. You come in here and you can hit customize grid and the sidebar. So Thinkorswim just added more features, and I just realized there's a feature missing. Okay. Thinkorswim has added more features, but this sidebar is really nice because it allows you to add stuff onto your chart. So for example, I know a lot of people love level 2. They can't live without it. Like Ivan, people want live news. You can add that. You can also add, you know, trade buttons. I'll get into that later. Time and sales, you can add that as well. So obviously nothing's running right now, so you can't see much, but this is a great tool, and you can hide and remove this as you want. And on top of that, you can detach them. So I'm just going to detach one of these to show you. So I detached the chart, and let's say you needed more screen real estate. You can hide your charts, you can hide your level 2, and you can just have active trader, let's say. Oh, and let me hide time and sales. And some people will, you know, make multiple windows, lay them out properly. Obviously this is not proper, but let's say they needed time and sales here, and they scrunched it up and they leave it there. So stuff like that, you can do with that. After that, you can save them. So save flexible grid as whatever you want to save as. And I have some that are really old, but let's see what they look like. So I have an intraday setup. So I'll click intraday and see what that looks like. Okay, apparently there's nothing because none of the tickers run. Oh, I know why there's nothing. It's because it's on today's. Yeah, so this was my intraday setup. I can go back and forth and load specific things. So this was a price action one that I have no idea what it's about, but I'm going to go back to a daily chart. Wow, that's a really messy chart. Okay, so going back to here, I want to show you probably the most powerful thing on Thinkorswim, and that is how to backtest. So come into your Flask, and once you come into your Flask, you can go to strategies, and I'm just gonna put a simple one out there. Let's do a golden cross that everyone loves. So let's say you wanted to backtest a golden cross. Add the golden cross, and it'll come into here. You can click you can click on the gear settings to change it. So let's do 920 since I like 920s and I don't like simple. Let's do exponential. So I've went to strategies. Let me show you. I've went to strategies tab, added the golden cross breakout, and now I'm going to click OK, click apply, and as you can see, the strategy I added was the golden cross. So I'm telling Thinkorswim to basically buy and sell only when the 9 crosses above the 20, and sell when the 9 crosses below the 20. So it's now doing what I told it, and I can see how accurate it is by clicking on this and right-clicking on the actual strategy label, and you can click show report. So now I've shown the report. I'm gonna open it wider, and as you can see, it's actually pretty good on Apple. Quite surprised. So it's made 14 trades, buy and sell orders based on my strategy that I laid out from this time and date, and you can see, you can go in and see the accuracy, but according to this, I made $666.49 if I let Thinkorswim trade Apple with my strategy. And it's a really great way to backtest things with minimal effort. So like the other day, there was a discussion on the option channel about which EMA was better, and I was kind of bored, so I went to go and test which EMAs were better on which instruments, and it's really easy to do if you know a little bit of coding. And if you don't, I will show you a way to get around that. Okay, so moving forward, we will go into product depth now. So specifically for anyone in small cap, this is going to be completely useless to you. This is more for options and futures, but I thought I'd point it out here. Going to profit. This is a very old, archaic system Thinkorswim has left behind. This was meant for their AI portion of the Thinkorswim. They actually had an AI trading bot, and it was working out of here. The way you can use this, though, I personally have not had any success with this, but maybe you guys might, is you can go in here. Let's say you wanted to look at Apple, for example, and you wanted to search all the patterns on Apple. You can go to patterns, search whatever pattern you want, whether it's ascending, triangle, whatever, and it will search the entire time frame you laid out. It's something like the patterns tool in the chart, but this is a more archaic system. I say give it a try. If you get something to work, hey, let me know, because I've had very little success with this. But at least you guys know it's here now. You can also draw on it, stuff like that. Charts, very, very similar to that of the flexible grid. The only difference is you do not have the flexibility. I know it sounds stupid. The flexibility of the flexible grid, where you can detach, move stuff around, change the dimensions as you see fit. But it allows you to make this really easily. So it's like kind of a layout, already built layout, and you can go in here and just load. Let's say I needed 9 charts, and it'll equally distribute the space, and you can maximize the cells. Let's say, I need to maximize this. So as you can see, this label in here tells you where in your 9 grid layout you are. You can go forward, and as you see, the red square is moving to this is the tick. As you can see, this is going forward, and you can go through your grid that way. Go back, we'll put you back in here. And that's basically the charting aspect. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Probably did. But that's the charting aspect. Market Watch will be your friend depending on how you use it. I suggest if a market watch, go to the calendar. You know, it's going to be hard for small cap momentums to use this, but if you ever want to see stock splits, you can always come in here and click what economic data you want on your calendar. Whether it's earnings you play, you can add that. Here's my caveat. Thinkorswim really sucks at updating this because they only update confirmed stuff. So there's better websites out there that have better economic calendars than Thinkorswim because they're updating it on a regular basis and that's their sole purpose. Thinkorswim is only forward looking for I think 5 days, to be honest. Like if I go out next week, like the week after next, like let's say if I go 25th, I know this is wrong because I know there's more than 2 earnings or 15 earnings on Tuesday. So you got to be careful. Financing rates probably won't apply to you guys. It's basically for Forex traders. Visualize tab is a great place to see an overview view of the market. You can see that, hey, you know, at any one given time, one stock is burning over the other. And here's the thing, the size of the square is going to be determined by how large the market cap is. So obviously, let's say, for example, Apple and Amazon are 2 of the biggest companies in terms of market cap. You can see that. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that. And if I just go to S&P hundreds, Apple is one of the biggest. So it's a great way. I personally don't use this. What I like to use is come in here and I go to actually index watch instead of heat map. And you can come in here and choose one of the ones that they already saved. So S&P hundreds. That's really strange. Okay, I guess it's because of the weekend, but S&P hundreds should not be flatline like this. Let's see if I can get an example to show you guys. Okay, that's really bad, but okay, here we go, futures. Perfect. So if you come in here, basically I get to see what is going up and what is going down at any given time on the market. As you can see, 27 advancing means 27 of whatever is on this list is going up, 26 is going down. And as if you look carefully, these lines here tell you the high of day, and obviously the red tells you the low of day, and where that bar is basically where it's trading in that range. And this is what I use a lot of the time. I personally don't like the heat map. Some people are visual learners, they love the heat map, but it's a great way to look at an overview of the market. Alerts is where I told you when you create an alert, all your alerts will come in here. So I have about 50, 60 alerts just compiled over the time, and you can come in here, delete stuff, remove stuff, edit stuff. Maybe you forgot what alert you put on what chart. It happens a lot to me. I have to come in here and take a look. So quotes is a great place. Quotes is a great place for giving watch lists and creating your own watch lists. So let's pull up, I think the only thing working is futures, so unfortunately. So futures, you create a watch list here, and you can come in here and monitor anything. You can sort by symbol. This is a lot of this is dead right now because the market's not working, but I do suggest if you have a watch list and small cap, you do the strength meter and quotes trend. So strength meter will tell you if the stock is going up or down, and it gives you a visual representation. Quote trend gives you the level 2 in a visualized format like E-Trade. I really suggest these two when you do quotes. and you can come in here and where is it? If you guys see, it's really tiny. If you guys see, there's a gear symbol here. You can come in here, click the gear symbol. It should say customize and no sorting. You can hit no customize, and you can come in here and basically add whatever you want. So let's say, for example, you're an RSI maniac and you love RSI. You can add RSI to your watch list so that, you know, at any given point you don't have to pull up the chart. You already know what the RSI level is and you can add it. So let's add this to my, and you can see RSI, and look at that. It gives me the RSI for the given stock, and you can add as many or as little as you want. I have custom ones, and I posted a lot of the script studies that I use as links at the end of the slide deck. You can add anything. Like, let's say I wanted a ADX. Oh, that's ADRX, ADXR. Sorry, but you guys get the idea. So there you go. Scan tab is the next one that everyone loves. So I'm gonna switch over to PowerPoint. Oh, okay. So scan tab. If you're using paper accounts, here's the thing. They have really limited you because you can't scan anything in the paper account, unfortunately. You can't add studies. So at least for me, maybe you can in America, but in the Canadian paper account, you can't. So as you can see, you come into Scan tab, and you can add whatever you want. Popular studies is probably what people use the most. And I'm just going to walk you through how to code using their wizard. So like I said, if you're really good at coding, you have a leg up in Thinkorswim because you can almost code anything you have an idea on. If you don't, there is a kind of a way around it, but you're not going to have that limitless potential that a coder may have. So you can come into Scan, add study filter, custom, and this will allow you to customize anything. So come in, custom, and I did, for example, it automatically defaults to ADX crossover, so you can just delete that. If you want to use that, then, you know, obviously use that, but I'm going to walk you through an example of, hey, let's scan the market for a 920 EMA crossover using the wizard. So going back, you just have to add study filter, which is right here. Then you click study, come down to custom, and as you do that, a window will pop up, and I would click, this window won't pop up yet, but this will, click edit. When you click edit, this will come up. I type because I know what I'm looking for, but you come in here, click study, and then you can go in here and type whatever. So let's do moving. I'm going to do the 920 crossover scan. So it's just basically look for that. Type, this is all, like, basically it's in plain English. You choose what you want and Thinkorswim will code it for you. So right now I told it I need a 9 to cross above it, to cross, and you save, and it should be right here, up here. And you can add as many as you want. You know, I added RSI here, volume as an example. The pencil tool will allow you to edit that study. And then if you can see day here, those are your aggregation periods. So what are you scanning for? What time frame? I'm scanning for daily. I'm scanning for 10-minute chart, whatever it is. And it says included extension, market extended periods. So let's say you wanted to also scan pre-market and aftermarket. That's something you would click. If you don't, then you click it off. And then you can also tell where to scan on the market. So personally, I always like to scan on weeklies and things that are optionable. So for me, that's, you know, what I play. You can scan on NYSE, sorry, not OTC, NYSE, NASDAQ, you know, ARCA, whatever stock exchange you want, or maybe you want only the S&P 500s, for example. The only thing I have to say is when you save your scan, here's the thing. As you can see, this is my personal list. I started to put scan in front of everything because later on you're going to see that when you do watch lists, they're going to start to conflict and collide, and it's going to be a complete mess when you go to your watch list, whether you go to load up other things on Thinkorswim with your own personal data. It's going to be a complete mess. I'll show you that later, but just if you save your scans, make sure you do that, and I'll show you where to save your scans. So to save your scans, you just come in here. Oh, right. Paper account doesn't allow me to save scans. But you can come in here and you can click the square. I think it's to the left here, right here. And it will allow you to save your scans. Okay, so Analyze tab. I know I'm whipping through this, guys, but I didn't actually realize how much material I had to go through until I did. So Analyze tabs, you guys as momentum small cap, this is going to be a little less less useful to you. Go to, like, the only thing I can see you guys doing is possibly coming to economic data and being like, this is not even the homepage. And using this. So what this is all the economic data that Thinkorswim has kindly gave to us. So I don't need to know huge driving forces of the market, like other people that are investing for 6 months to a year. So this is something that you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna use in small cap. Personally, when I traded it, absolutely useless. But you know, I'm sure someone's gonna find a way to implement this and make a better trader in small cap momentum. But I just wanted to show you, basically, I can come in here. Let's say I was interested in retail, and I wanted to see, hey, what is the retail services in, I don't know, in the internet. I can click on this, and this will show me over the course of 18 years how the e-commerce retail sector have been, not sector, but how retail and e-commerce have been doing together. And that's basically, you know, it's a very powerful tool. Not so powerful you're playing small cap. Think back once again for option traders, probability analysis, option trading. The only way I could see you guys using this is if you play a large cap. That doesn't look, oh, there we go. And you're trading a large cap, or it doesn't even have to be a large cap. Any stock that has options, you can see a probability analysis, and it'll tell you what's the percentage that the price will trade in this cone. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. And that's the only way I can see you guys using this. So continuing on, risk profile, once again, options, ad simulated, once again, options. So you guys have very little to do with this tab. The two things I will point out that is very, very relevant, depending on how, you know, what companies you trade, is the Analyze Fundamentals and Earnings tab, which I will show you right now. So here it is. You go to the Analyze tab, type in Fundamentals, you come into Apple, you type Apple, and it will tell you almost everything you need to know, whether it's what sector it is. As you can see, I'm just going to blow this up. Give me a second here. Whether it's Apple, information technology, as you can see, all these data reports, these are free for Thinkorswim. We actually have, if you're outside Thinkorswim, you'd have to pay for these. But two of my favorites, Credit Suisse, CFRA. They're the most detailed fundamental reports from these large banks or these large research. I don't like the rest because they are too basic, but you guys by all means can download them for free, view them. If you click the alert button, this will tell you anytime they update their fundamental report, you will get an alert on it. I use it quite often, but this fundamental tab is very important if you play companies that are pretty well known, whether it's AMD, Sprint. Some small caps have them, like HEAR, I think, had one. So you can come in here. You can see company by profile, by the numbers, company details, what drives the stock. And this is really important, I think, if you trade larger cap to small cap on the Russell 2000. As you can see, I downloaded the CFRA, and it's a 9-page report on the company. If you do company by the numbers, you can see a very brief overview of the financial statements and a bit of vertical analysis on their financial statements. Here's the thing, the most accurate will always be their filings in the SEC. This is always going to be 1 quarter behind, so just keep that in mind. Company details will tell you how the company changes, what is the possible downside to the company, whether it's like, hey, maybe tomorrow lithium prices go up 5 billion%, Apple's going to feel the hurt because they build iPhones that need batteries, stuff like that. It's a really good place to look. This is probably my favorite, what drives the stock. I can see what profits, what products they need, and what essentially gives them that price point. $180.90. Oh, is that really? No, that's the Trefis score. So 180.91 is not the actual ticker price right now. That is a Trefis score, and I'll explain that right now. So you can come in here and basically click on anything. Let's click on iPhone, and let's say today, here's the thing, Trefis is really accurate, but you gotta know what you're doing on Trefis, and I rarely use this because, first of all, I can't predict a lot of these numbers. I'm sure there are fundamentalists out there that can, but let's say I believe that iPhone shipments will drop 10 million numbers by the next quarter. I can put that in the Trefis estimate, and it can spit me out based on that new information, what the price of Apple should be trading. So you can do that, come in here, and the next slide, I click on iPhone. I click on the iPhone shipments. That was to my right. Click on that, and it'll give me a chart. And I will be able to bring up or bring down the amount of shipments. And correspondingly, it will change the price. So as you can see, the estimate for the next few years is 150 million to 239 iPhone shipments. I'm going to change it and say, hey, you know what? I think it's going to come down. Market's going to hit peak saturation. Their price has to drop. So I changed that. And look, my estimate of the Trefis has now changed to 178. So it's a good way to measure stuff. The problem is you got to be knowing what those numbers coming out of Apple will be. So let's see what the next slide is. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so the next tab is earnings tab. Beautiful place to see all the earnings over 2 years. So basically 8 quarters. And you can see how much, how little they go up, what their actual versus estimate was. And It's a great place to essentially see an overview picture of every single earnings cycle in the last 2 years. Fit all will fit all 8. Zoom, you can have an enhanced zoom of each quarter, and a compare will allow you to compare year over year to quarter over quarter. Okay, we're almost done here because I'm basically running out of time. Okay, so the monitor tab, I'm going to go to Thinkorswim now. Perfect. So the monitor tab is all your trades that will ever happen. You can always spit them out you can always export them. So I can export all my trades into a file, and let's say it is an Excel file most likely, and you can just do that. But this is where you're gonna control your trades, monitor your trades, and see over the year how you've been doing. Like, let's see, I've traded Twitter, made a call. You can see that here, the symbol, order history, equities, what I'm holding currently, account statements, everything I've traded. You can come in here as well, and basically if you guys need to adjust your paper account, like let's say you want to make it more realistic, instead of trading with 150,000 or whatever equity you want, I suggest you use what is an appropriate number to you. Let's say you're starting out with 5K, use 5K. Don't go ballistic and put 150, because that's not simulating a real account. And that's basically the monitor tab. I'm gonna come in here, and this is the left side bar. This will allow you to do watch lists. So what I do is I get rid of a lot of these gadgets, because to me they're not useful. Gadget, they are, type notes to yourself is like daily goals, what you want. There we go. And you can cut. Wow, they don't even have that here. Okay, let's say if I want to do a 52-week high, low. I just added the 52-week low, and you can see it is on the column. And the next thing I wanted to go is, so that's basically Thinkorswim. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't cover, but the one thing I wanted to tell you is how you guys can execute your orders. There's like 1,001 ways to execute your orders, and I'm going to show you. So there is dashboard, trade tab, active trader, and big button. And you're gonna have to figure out what you like the best. Whether it's hotkeys, whether it's you like to execute your order on the active trader. A lot of people like the active trader because they can execute orders. One cancels the other. So OCO is a type of order. Let's do an OCO. Okay, so OCO is an order where basically, let's say, let me get rid of some of this stuff. This is getting ridiculous. Let's say I would like to buy when the stock hits the 200 EMA, but at the same time, I wanted to buy when the stock breaks out. So what happens is an OCO order is I can make that. I can say, hey, if the stock dips below the 200 EMA, buy for me. But at the same time, if the stock hits a certain number, like it breaks out, buy for me as well. So what happens is if one of those orders gets executed, it cancels the other order. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, let's say the 200 EMA is sitting at 1159. Let's choose a round number, saying 1159.08. A lot of people use this. Some people don't. This is a trigger event bracket. So TRG bracket, just going to show you guys. So let's say I bought in. Like, you can execute all your orders in one go. So let's say you wanted to buy Google at 11:59, but I wanted to make a trailing stop loss of 11:58.76, but I wanted a profit target of 11:59. I can make an order all in one, and it's called a trigger bracket order, where I send this out and it will get me that price, but at the same time, if I can't monitor the position, it will get me out at the stop loss that I tell it to, and it'll get me my profits that I tell it to. As you can see on the active trader, there is 2 red cells and 1 buy. So the buy order will trigger, and then those limit orders will stay there. And then if you can't monitor the position, the worst you can lose is your stop limit. And if you can't monitor your position, it runs to like 5 billion. At least you've taken profits. I think that's it. I know I've rushed this because I realized last night that there's no way I could actually do all this in one seminar, but I tried to actually get you guys. If you guys have alerts, they always appear in messages, by the way. And oh, also another thing I wanted to mention, I just popped in my head. This watch list, you can export this watch list into an Excel sheet. It says export to file, and you can manipulate, whatever you want to export. So basically, the more stuff you put in your watch list, you can export it to an Excel sheet and like do data analysis or whatever you want to that. But that basically is it. If you guys want scripts, I added 3 areas or 3 websites that are great for scripts, great for coding to learn, and they're in the slide deck. So with that, I will give time for questions, even though I'm a little bit over time. I'm just going to push the options thing 15 minutes behind. So I'm just going to hop on Discord now with you guys. Hey Jay, can you hear me? Uh, okay, so Thinkorswim. For options, I'm gonna go through some stuff that you guys may not know, but it seems like a lot of people don't want me to go through the basics, which is fine. It's better because we have more time to go over the cool stuff. So the first thing I'd say is if you guys didn't know about this, this is a if you just before you log in, there's a settings button. You guys can come in here and change whatever you want, language and stuff. But the most important is the memory usage. So make sure, like I'd say, memory usage, whatever you have. Let's say you have 10 gigs worth of memory, 60%. Try and allocate 60% to Thinkorswim. So like this should be 6,000. And the reason why I say that is generally sometimes you need to be running Discord in the background, Google Chrome, you got stuff, other stuff. So you don't want to like suck up every ounce of CPU to Thinkorswim. Give me a second here, guys. I apparently Thinkorswim just crashed. Swim. Just a quick thing. If you guys don't know, you can hide all your privacy stuff up here. So like when you take screenshots, I take this off, you can see everything right now. And if you do screenshots, you know, um, it might be dangerous to show all this. Obviously, this is my paper account, so I really, there's no risk, but just make sure you turn on privacy tab when you take screenshots. Okay, so options. Also, I'm going to go over some stuff that you guys may not know. So I'm going to go over the help tab really quickly. This, for those who are tuning in, this is just tells you how much memory is Thinkorswim sucking up and how much network speed Thinkorswim sucks up. Right now, I just started it, so the quotes I received is 321. But just to give you an idea, if I leave Thinkorswim from 9 to 5, I mean, basically the whole training day, I'll get about 15 million quotes. So, like, you can imagine how many and how fast Thinkorswim is updating stuff. Um, for those who don't know, support chat is a really great place. If you have any problems with your platform, whatever, come to live and type in create a ticket and just send it to them, and they generally respond within 5 minutes. If they're getting absolutely hammered like this week, they will take about 20 minutes. Chat rooms, great place to hang out and stay within the Thinkorswim community. It actually has a great community, surprisingly. I thought it would just be like all junk, but check it out. Join the chat rooms. Global news is exactly what it is. It's just some guy feeding headlines about global economic, financial things that could cause the markets to go up or to go down. And then the seminars, come in here. You'll see a list of seminars. I'm in my paper, so you can't see that list. But come in here and just type whatever you want, really. Whatever you're interested in, they have a seminar in. Someone mentioned conditional orders. I think that was Taz. You can literally come in, and Taz knows this because Taz actually taught me this. You can come in here, search in archive, and just type conditional orders, and you could just pull up anything you want. I think they have lessons for the last 4 years. Every single day, they have a 2-hour seminar at night. And okay, so that's it. We can go to options. So charting, so tools. I just want to mention all this. Tools, this is how you interact with the community. Basically come in here, see who's posting what, whether it's scripts, trades, whatever. Okay, so now the options, since I think that's all I wanted to really touch upon. So the options, the most powerful thing is going to be this tab right here, all products. The reason why Thinkorswim designed it from monitor tab to help is they believe the things on the left are going to be the most used and the things on the right are going to be the least used. And if you're an options trader, that is correct. If you're not an options trader, that doesn't hold true. So the first thing I would say, if you're an options trader, come in here, look at the underlying, and click this button here. It will drop down a menu, and that menu will give you the bid ask, gives you everything a big picture of the company. As you can see, Google's pulled up. This here will probably be the most important in the sense that how much is this ticker going to change as the entire market moves? And that is weighted to the SPY or SPX or ES. It doesn't matter. They're all the same kind of movement slash ratio. And as you can see, the beta weighting for Google is almost 1. So it means if the market moves $1, Google will move $1. So basically, it moves in accordance to the market. In times of volatility, I do suggest you click that little arrow. Is that a thunderbolt or arrow? Whatever it is. Click that, and it'll pull up this display here. And you can... Wow, that's actually wrong. So it's supposed to pull up calculations. Don't know why it put me on display. But when you click that little thunderbolt, it'll put you on beta calculation. You can change that to fast. So meaning it's going to weigh the most recent information more than essentially the entire span of the calculation. I actually don't know what that calculation is and how far the beta look back period is. But let's say we change it to fast. It should change. Oh, okay. There you go. So it's more volatile, you can see, right? So I'm just going to change it back because later on it's going to cause me problems, the things I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so continuing on, this is the option grid. You guys know, and I'm going to open up a strike price, and I'm going to change this to 40 to keep it simple. Actually, change it less, 20. So I'm looking at 20 strikes. So basically, you can come in here, trade off this grid, and you can change whatever criteria you want. Right now, I have volume, open interest, theta, delta, probably of in the money, bid and ask. So I can change that through here if you want. Hit customize. You can add, or let's say I wanted volatility, which is Vega. Add that. Move this up, and then move this up. There we go. So there you go. I changed the list. It updated. Tells me my Vega now. And let's say, for example, I wanted to buy a strike. I click strike, and I'm buying a strike. So a lot of the times I'm not going to be making a simple call or naked, and I construct my own trades. So how I do that really quickly is you're going to hold control and click another strike. So right now I have 1160 as my strike, but let's say I wanted to make something fancy and make it absolutely ridiculous. I would hold control down, and if I click the bid, I would be selling a contract. If I click the ask, I would be buying a contract. So let's say I wanted to make a 4-legged trade, which is the max you can do, and I'm just going to click anywhere. So don't think this is an actual trade, but you're going to see that the strike prices are going to add on the bottom. There you go. I was holding down control the entire time, and as you can see, these orders just start piling in, and this is my trade. So there you go. Very simple way to make a multiple leg trade. Another thing you can do is right click, come to here, hit buy, say you wanted to make a vertical, and there you go. That's my vertical. It's buying the 1157 halves, selling the 1160s, and you can do that the control way, which I like because sometimes I don't want to buy a $2 spread. I want to buy $5, so just click, hold down control, and let's make it like insane. There you go. I just made a, let's say, 17.5 spread, as you can see, by holding down control. Also, I can touch upon this later, but when you buy options, why can't I slide this? When you buy options, make sure, is it because I'm after hours? When you buy options, make sure you try and get the midpoint of your price. Like this is, let's say this is the min, this is the max. Try and get somewhere around here, because you know, if you can get it for, let's say 20 cents cheaper, why not, right? It just means that you're up 20 cents before the trade even goes on. I wouldn't suggest going down here, because go down there only if your trade is much longer in terms of duration, because you could be sitting at the bottom there and waiting to get filled for hours, which sometimes I do, because you know the trade is going to take 40 days. So what's a couple more hours, you know, if I can get 20-30 cents out of the trade before I begin. So that's really up to you, but I suggest, like, you know, why would I buy this for $12.70 when I can buy it for maybe $12.65, $12.60, you know? So make sure when you execute those orders, for some reason I can't pull this down. That's so strange. Anywho, you can do that. Another thing you can do is paste. You can copy this order. So let's say I did make a ridiculous trade, and I did this, and I wanted to show this trade to someone. I was like, hey, what do you think about this trade? I can hit copy, and this will clip it to my clipboard, and I could actually post this trade in Discord, and it will run the entire trade. It will show, I'll show you guys. It will show this essentially. It will look like this. So I copied that trade, and basically it's copied in my clipboard, and all I have to do is hit paste. Yeah, figures, PowerPoint. I'm going to do it on Discord. I'm going to hit paste, and there you go. See, the exact same order comes up, and I can just, it allows me so I don't have to be like, hey, this is what I'm trading, and type that all out. It typed everything out for me because I hit copy. So it's actually really convenient. And I'm gonna delete this trade again and show you guys. And another thing you guys can do when you do options really easily is this thing here. This is what happens to my cursor sometimes. Sorry. This thing here is a theoretical pricing model. So let's say you wanted to get out or in trades, and you don't know what the option will be trading at that price. So right now I want to buy an 1157 half strike price, but as you can see, there's a spare additional 30 cents on it, meaning that I'm overpaying for this. If it says spare, it means you're overpaying for it. And as you can see, it says 1159.28. So if I were to pay for this contract, I would be paying over by 30 cents, and if let's say I wanted to say that this contract is going to go, it's worth its weight in gold, then if it's worth its weight in gold, the underlying should be trading at the theoretical price, which is 11.5928 cents. And if you look up here, the last for contract that's trading 1 penny above what it's actually, and we're paying by 30 cents over. So make sure you try and not overpay for stuff in the option world, because you know it's a game of pennies sometimes, when it comes to options, especially when you always want to give yourself the best possible chance to succeed. And out of the gates, you can give yourself sometimes 10% extra, and that's a lot. So that's a really good thing to really keep an eye on. I'm going to close this tab up here and show you what this trade grid is about. Or not. Also, come in here, you can see the today's option statistics. Scroll down. You can see that you've done this. Google has done 76,000, 22,000 puts, and then the put call ratio is right here, 0.3. So it's always, whenever you report to other traders about, hey, put call ratio, it's going to always be puts first and calls second. That's the formula. You can come in here, take a look. Hey, there's 76,000 calls to 22,000 puts. This is a really interesting statistic as well. I like to track some of this. And the reason why is I want to see how desperate people are to get in. And desperation is always great because it shows panic, and you can capitalize on panic. So a good stat to take a look at is, okay, so this is a really bad example, but let's use Google. So as you can see, everyone was between the market. It means people weren't desperate to get in. They were taking their time to adjust their prices and pay the correct price for that contract. But sometimes you can see desperation. You can see it's 66 and 67. Sometimes I actually see traded at the ask at 66 and 67, and you could see that it's at like 10. Let's say these two numbers are flipped. And to me, that shows desperation to get in, whether it's on the ask or bid to get out as quickly as possible. And that shows desperation. These are your deltas. So this will tell you basically where everyone's piling in, whether it's really far out of the money, really far in the money, or just basically at the money. And make sure you keep track of this as well. The most important stat here is current IV percentile. I would say everything else is pretty useless, but sometimes I do use this sometimes I use this implied volatility, but this one is the most important. Current IV percentile tells you where you're at. This number just alone tells you nothing. And the reason why it tells you nothing is because let's say the product Google was trading today at 50 implied volatility. Well, if there's no reference point, 50 is meaningless. But however, if I told you that the day before Google's implied volatility was not at 50, but at 2, well, that's a stark contrast, right? That's why current IV percentile is the most important to me, because it tells me over 52 weeks, where is the IV sitting at? And this is an absolutely terrible example, I just realized, because IV, implied volatility, and current IV is the same. I'm going to pull up something else. There we go. So right now, implied volatility is 55, and current IV percentile is 89. So we're 90% above everything we've ever traded in terms of IV in the last year. And you can see that. So take this number, 55, and the 52-week high is at 62, and the 52-week low is at 2%. So you can see 55 between these two numbers will give you 89%. So that's why IV percentile, current IV percentile, is really important to me. And you can scroll down further and you can see to option times and sales. This will give you basically the level 2 to the option chain. You can sort by quantity, which I always come in here and see the biggest orders because they're really important. So, it's going to take time for you guys to figure out, what's important and what's not. But like, look at here, this is a spread. And that means if this is a spread, there's a 4,000 lot order sitting out there right now that this did not pick up on. So let's take a look if we can find the other 4,000. There you go. See? So there's two 4,000 lot orders, and I knew that because it was a spread. So there had to be another section. And so effectively, this guy did 8,000 contracts. It looks like a vertical put spread. Yeah, looks like a vertical put spread. And this is a great tool. Like, you can see big orders go through. Sometimes people like to ride in the waves of big orders. I've done that a couple of times, but this is a great place to come in, check out, see what people are doing. Product depth, I will touch upon that later in another tab, but going back up here, yellow is weeklies, and what's white or gray is monthlies. And what happens also, these are implied volatilities on the left, and the ones in brackets is the actual move. So let's say for 22nd of June, the implied volatility is 67, and the move expected from Monday to Friday is plus or minus $8 and what is that, 45 cents. So if we plus $8.45 and minus $8.45, let's ballpark it and say it's going to be 105 to 121. That is the move that we expect NXPI to be trading in a range of 105 to 121. And the implied volatility tells you how crazy it is. 67 is pretty high. As you can see, it's really high, so high in fact that it's higher in the front expiration to the back expiration. And this tells you right here, this symbol here, market maker move, it's a triple M. It tells you in one quick glance that the front week is more volatile than the back week, which is a very rare thing in terms of volatility. It generally happens during earnings, generally happens during some type of event, maybe a Fed meeting. It generally happens in maybe this company has it. The reason why is there's takeover news, and they have it. That's the reason why. So continuing on, let's say you wanted to see the option chain and level 2 of Thinkorswim. So let's say I wanted to buy this 113 strike. I'm coming in here and I'm going to copy this code. So the reason why I'm copying this code is I want to tell Thinkorswim I need to see the level 2 for this specific strike price. It's not the underlying, it's this specific strike price. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste. So I copied and pasted the code, and I'll explain some of the code later. But you can see right now the bid is 350 and the ask is 510. As you can see, that's a large order. There is 225 contracts for 350 and 119. So, effectively, if you want to outbid people, you can come in here and basically come in here and be like, hey, guess what? I want to get out for 349. And you'll bump this, what I'm assuming, institution, because that's pretty large for a retail trader, down. And the reason why it's great for us to trade options is retail traders actually have the edge over institutions, which is very different than if you were to play stock. Stock is it's the opposite. Institutions have the edge, and retailers are left in the dust, essentially. You can also take this code and pull it up into a chart to see how it's been trading on a minute by minute basis. I'm going to change this to 1. There you go. It's not going to be pretty because it's just going to move in, up, down, up, down. It's going to also be depending on the bid ask. Because the bid ask is so wide, this might just, have a very wide range. Okay, so I'm going to explain the code because it's really important. So as you can see, I copied that strike price. So the first 4 letters is obviously the designation of the company. And then the next 2 digits, 18, is going to be the year. The next 2 digits after that, it's going to be the month. And the next 2 digits after that, it's going to be the day. Then it's going to say C or P, designating call put. And then it's going to tell you the strike price. So why that's important is a lot of the option traders I trade with or talk to on a day-to-day basis, I will tell them, hey, this is my naked call, naked put, and not naked call, naked put, but let's say if it's a more more complicated trade where it's multiple legs, like let's say it's that, I will either copy the entire trade and send them, which is generally 99% of the time. I'll just do that, copy paste and send them the entire thing, say, hey, take a look at this, or I will just tell them that code because everyone should understand that code. And it's easier than typing it, hey, I took this June 20th expiration for strike price X, etc., etc. Let's see. Okay, another thing that you could do in here, which is really cool, I don't have it, but if you guys are on your live account, there's going to be a button here that says company profile. If you guys can, go to Apple, because I know that one exists. Why can't I? Oh, it does. So the button here says company profile. I doubt this works. So click on what? Okay, that's surprising. This works. Okay. So company profile will bring up essentially what drives the company, and you can look at what actually pushes the company forward, what gives them profits, what doesn't. I like to do this not often, but if the trade is probably spanning more than, I'd say 45 days, I like to do this. So let's say I saw that iPhone sales were dropping and analysts were saying, hey, iPhone sales prices are also going to increase or drop. I can come in here and change that, and it will change this price per share. So let's say it's a 180 and 91 cents right now. And I think, you know what? For Apple to compete, they can't sell their iPhone anymore at $739.99. They have to lower their price, and we're gonna go extreme. We're gonna say $699 for them to compete. As you can see, I just changed this, and this will give me a futuristic model of the price per share. So here's the thing. Here's the caveat I'm gonna say. This is really accurate, but what is the odds that you actually fundamentally analyze the company perfectly is very slim, right? Because let's say they do change price. Well, okay, perfect. They change price, but guess what? Now, how do you predict how many iPhone numbers are going to go up because it is cheaper. Perhaps people will buy more. So how much will that entail? We don't know, right? Because let's say we raise the number of iPhone sales now to something ridiculous. We don't know that number, right? So my only caveat is, yes, you can have fun in here, but the likelihood of you being absolutely 100% correct is very difficult. But it is something to it's something to play around with, right? Because you can see, hey, maybe if they move sales up just a fraction, how much does that mean for the stock price? And as you can see, it's adjusting it as I adjust this. So it's a good place to use this. It's a really good place to see what analysis and future outlooks you can use with this company. I'll show you more about that in the fundamentals tab, but this is something really worthwhile looking at. So the Analyze tab is also a really great place for option traders. I'm going to construct a really fast trade. Okay, so let's say I wanted to do this trade. I right click on it and click Analyze Trade. This will bring me here. So if you do that, it will bring you to the Analyze tab and Risk Profile. And in here, what's beautiful about this is you can see how much you can make, how much you can lose at any given point, and realize, hey, what are the odds of me making money on this date, if this happens or this happens. And as you can see, there's percentages all over the top. And I'm going to change some of this to P&L open. That's correct. In the money. Oh, wow, that's all correct. So as you can see, let's say we wanted to know what are the odds that based on just pure option statistics, this has nothing to do with technical analysis, just based on pure math, if I did this trade, what is my odds of my contracts expiring in the money? So basically for me to make 1 penny or more at expiration. So at expiration is June the 22nd. So in here you see a date, and I can roll time forward to June 22nd. And I don't know if you were watching this, but the probability should have gone up. And you should see 49% of me being correct based on pure option statistics. And you can up the date, you can go back in time, you can see how much you're gonna make. Where is that? It is here. So this line, I'm gonna delete a few lines. Let's say I think Apple is gonna trade at 191. So if you see here, the column, the price is here, and the profit's here. Let's say I think Apple's going to trade at 190.90, and let's say it's June 20th. So that's going to be my P&L open if everything stays the same. This is a model, forecasting model, and obviously not everything is going to be accurate, but that's a ballpark range. You can also come in here and change the volatility. So it says, I click the gear here, and I came to the volatility adjustment, and I can type in, hey, what happens if volatility rises by 5%? Click enter, and look, my graph will change. So you can come in here, manipulate whatever you want to see how much your options can essentially how much your options can be worth at a given time with given variables put in place. Going forward, this here is pretty cool. I don't use this as much as I probably should. This will tell you the percentage of you being right at any given date. As you can see, the dates are down here. with the vertical lines, and these are probability cones, and this cone represents 68% of the time. Right here, see? 68% of the time. So by June the 29th, Apple, according to the options statistics, should be trading between 182 to 195. And the reason why this is important is, let's say you got in and you're like, you know what? My target price is 210. Well, according to this, it's not a really realistic target price, because 70% of the time, it should only be trading no higher than 195. So you can use that to your advantage. Economic data. So this is more important for large cap, people who want to hold longer, more so investing than people who scalp options. Let's say I come into economic data, I want to see anything, literally anything. There's some kind of correlation going on with, let's say I'm going to go retail, and I need to know what's something random. I don't know. Let's pick something. E-commerce. This is the same thing I picked. Well, e-commerce retail sales. This will tell me how much e-commerce retail sales have exploded in the last 18 years. How many, I can change whatever I want, percentage, any of this. It's really useful. I use this probably like once every 2 weeks, just to come in here and take a look. I'll get back to that. This is pretty important as well. If you guys go to Market Watch and you go to the Visualize tab, this is how I track the market. I come in here, I go to Market Watch, Visualize, and I personally don't like the heat map. That's a personal thing. You guys can use the heat map if you're more visually oriented. But you can come in here, let's say you're more interested in the S&P hundreds. That's not the S&P hundreds. And you can see the S&P hundreds, and the larger the box, the more market weight they have. So you can see it like this, or what I like to do is see it as a line. Come into Visualize, change the heat map to Index, come to here, come to Select Watch List, Public RW, S&P hundreds, and obviously the market is closed, so I can't use that. Futures, and come into here. So let's say let's pretend this was the S&P hundreds, and I would be like, oh, so the market's pretty neutral today, maybe neutral bullish. There's 27 companies advancing, 26 declining. I can see the health of the market. The top green bar is the highest price it traded, and the red is the lowest price it's traded, and obviously the bar tells you where it's trading now. So I can just quick visualize look on this and be like, oh, okay, so let's pretend this is a company. Let's say, oh, look, this thing hit a high and then came down. Maybe the markets are turning, because look, everything is off its highs. So I could be like, maybe the markets are actually taking a turn to the downside now. You can come in here and change the arrows. That just gives me a headache, so I don't use it, but you might find it more useful than I do. Financing rates, really very much for Forex traders. Calendar, come in here if you want to do earnings. The only caveat I have is this thing updates like only up to a week or two. Like if I go out in a month from now, I have nothing probably. Yeah. So if I go in a month, there's nothing. Oh, look, there is something. Huh. And the reason why that is because Thinkorswim actually is a little slower than the normal websites, like let's say earnings, calendar, and stuff like that. But I do like to come in here sometimes and see what earnings. I personally have a personal calendar that I keep track of myself. But if you guys are too busy, this is probably the best way. Okay, so Going into here now, I'm going to touch upon some things you can do with Thinkorswim. Oops. So things that you can do that you probably don't know. You can create your own ETFs, your own stock tickers and the reason why that's powerful in Thinkorswim is, let's say I need to know, I'm only a tech player, or I just like to play tech. I can create my own weighted index. So let's say we know about the FANG stocks, where it's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and the Google. So if you see, I was adding in a plus sign after each index, after each ticker, and when I hit enter, they will combine and smash everything together into a huge equity. And there you go. It added everything together. So now I know, geez Louise, this is how crazy tech is. Now I know the FANG stocks, look at that. It's just on a tear since the correction on February. So, you know, and you can weight them as well. Maybe you think, I'm going to make this really simple. Let's say Facebook you think is a 20% weight. You can do 20, so times Facebook, plus, let's say you think Amazon is weighted at 75%. So let's do 75 times Amazon. And it'll redistribute everything for you. There you go. So that's your new index. You can do this. And I do have some of these in there. I've created my own kind of one for each sector, the top 5 companies, and I weighted them accordingly. I also do the ETFs because the ETFs are going to be the most accurate, but you know, it's going to be depend how you use that information. Also, I will touch upon, since we're here, how to backtest. Let's say I needed to do a golden cross breakout backtesting, and I wanted to backtest, hey, how accurate is a 920 exponential moving average and I need to know, I'm going to buy when it breaks, the 9 breaks the 20, or I'm going to sell when the 9 comes below the 20. And I'm like, okay, and I'm going to apply, and the computer is going to basically do all the dirty work for me. As you can see, I did Apple, and I backtesting over the course of 1 year. But let's say I want to get more accurate. I want to do the last 15 years. There you go. So a lot of my strategies I backtest very rigorously this way, and it saves me a ton of time. You can just imagine. And I want to see the report on this. I'll right click show report. So this is a backtest for the last 15 years on Apple. This is the report. Wow, it's actually pretty decent. So this has made 77 trades over the last, 15 years? I can't remember now. And it's accumulated a P&L of $3,479 when it buys and sells only 100 stock. So you can go back in here and export the file, plug it into an Excel, and tell you, hey, what's the winning percentage overall? Like you see the trade P&L, but it doesn't tell you a winning, like an accuracy percentage, and just export file. And you can export to Excel and you can just plug and play. And that's how I backtest a lot of the things. Let's see here. So I've covered MarketWatch. Product depth. So the product depth is kind of located in 2 places. If you guys remember, is in the trade grid, all products. And hold on, let me close a lot of this garbage. If you see here, there's a product depth as well. So you can access it here, or you can choose to access it here. And this product depth is really useful for me sometimes because I get to come in here, take a look at the option chain, and I'm like, okay, what option do I really want to buy? And as you can see, I can see the volume on certain strike prices, and it's like, oh, so most of the people are concentrating their time here with the puts, but look at the calls. Wow, the calls are, everyone's piling in on a very particular strike price with this type of IV. So, I will come in here, 3 or 4 times a day, depending on what product I'm not sure of trading and what strike prices, and this will give me a better picture. I'm going to remove this. Okay, so let's see what else. We're going to go to the scan tab now, and I'm going to show you the ISC spread book. I can't remember what ISC stands for, but let's see. Yes, it works. Okay, perfect. So, is there a better one? Oh, wow, that's it? Maybe I'll just come to the spread book. There we go. So, sorry about that. So, go to the scan, go to the spread book, and you can punch up all the working orders. These are working orders. Keep in mind, guys. So, these are unexecuted orders, and not all of these are great trades. These are trades that people are trying to get executed on. Some of them, I would say 90% of them, are complete garbage. But you will find the one in there that is actually worth time looking at and be like, oh, that's actually a really great trade. How come I didn't think of that, And you can come in here, and these are working orders, and you can analyze the trade. So same thing, hit analyze, it'll bring you to the analyze tab, sorry. And look, I can analyze this guy's trade and be like, oh, that's a pretty good trade, maybe I should think of that or something along those lines. But keep in mind, there are some really bad trades in here. So I want you guys to realize you guys have to figure out what's a good trade and what's a bad trade. Like I probably can't find one off the top of my head. What on earth is that? Okay, so something like this, depending on how much he's risking. Okay, this guy's mad. So this to me is a bad trade. So this guy is predicting on July the 2nd, he thinks that this equity is going to trade between 276 and 279, so a $3. So he's basically trying to pin the price. He's risking $81. His max loss is 19, but if you look, if I do this properly, that's not right. Okay, so it's NA. So if I move the date, this will basically tell you there is no probability based on, it should tell me lesser though, but it's not a good trade. But just be aware that if you go into the scan and spread book and you dial it in, you might get good trades, you might get bad trades, but that's for you guys to figure out. You can also sort the trade by, let's say I wanted to do a verticals. I only want to see verticals. Here's all the verticals. The IC spread book is basically like this spread book here, but this is the, don't quote me, but the ISC is like International Spread Book Exchange or something along those lines. So, I rather use the spread book in my opinion. Okay, let's see what else. So I got that. I'm gonna go to Monitor tab now. The reason why is the Monitor tab, if you're trying to build positions and options, you can see your entire portfolio at a very quick glance. I'm going to add a few categories here. Okay, so I added Delta, Theta, Vega. So right now, this is what I built in to my quote-unquote paper portfolio. And you kind of wonder, I guess some of you guys wonder how I monitor, over 10 positions at the course of one time. It's pretty easy actually. What I do is I come in here to my position statement, and if you can see the beta weighting, I can beta weight my entire portfolio, and I recommend doing it to the SPY. As you can see, everything changed. I'm gonna unclick it so you guys can see. But look, negative 2012. I'm gonna beta weight it, negative 279. So this tells me that for every tick in the SPY that goes, okay, let's see how we can do this. Every tick of the SPY, if it goes up, I'm gonna lose 279 bucks. Or if it down ticks, I'm gonna gain 279 bucks. So it's a very big picture analysis of, hey, am I actually neutral on the market? Am I too heavily weighted on the short side? Am I too heavily weighted on the long side? For this here, surprisingly owning 1,000 stock, 500, and owning all this stock, I'm actually negative 279, which is not bad. And then I have a few contracts here too as well. It's 2 contracts here, stuff like that. And you can see the theta values. The Vegas won't be affected by beta weighting. Mainly the one you're after is the delta here. Strategy rollout. Here's the funny thing. I don't have this in my live account, and I actually don't know what this is. So if anyone can tell me, let me know. And it's strange that I don't have this in my live account. Okay, so back to the, oh, I forgot a portion. I'm sorry. So back to the Analyze tab. I'm so sorry about this, but I know I'm kind of all over the place right now, but Think Back is a feature that Thinkorswim catalogs every single option chain every single day. And what they allow you to do is think back. It's exactly what it says. So let's dial up the SPY. Nope. Let's dial up something else. Or something else. Okay, apparently that's all I'm going to get think back on. Maybe because I'm on paper. But it allows you to see option chains that you may have missed. Oh, really? That's it? Anywho, it allows you to see option chains that you may have missed and dial back the date to see, hey, what was this strike price trading at this particular point of time? And Think Back is for closing. I can't stress that enough. It's for closing. So let's say I needed to know the close on September 15th, Apple for this option chain. I can do that. And with that, I think I'm done. Oh, no, I'm not done. I'm just going to go through the PowerPoint slides really quickly to see if I've missed anything. Oh, the fundamentals tab is really good, guys. So I suggest checking out the fundamentals tab. And like I said, you can download financial evaluations of each company. Give me a second here. There we go. You can download, go to the Analyze tab, Fundamentals, and you can see here what each financial institution thinks about the stock. You can download the reports. My favorite two are the Credit Suisse and CFRA. I think the rest are pretty useless, but that's just my personal opinion. You can also create alerts whenever the companies update the financial sheets. You can get an update to that. And here you go at the bottom here, you see a 9-page evaluation of the company. When you download it, you can see the company by numbers, the financial sheets, PE ratios. Obviously, the most accurate is going to be still the SEC filings, but this gives you a very big picture. I will normally do this day in, day out of certain companies. You can see what drives. You can see the evaluation of the stock. Like, for example, if lithium-ion batteries increase by 1,000%, Apple stands the most to lose. So it will tell you this, like what's the company very sensitive to in terms of economic data. We cover Trefis and what drives the stock, and that's basically it. The scanning tab. Sorry, I'm gonna go through the scanning tab because. Okay, so the scanning tab. If you guys don't know how to code, then use the wizard. It's probably the easiest thing you could use and the most powerful thing. So let's say you wanted to scan for something, whether it's a fundamental. So fundamentals right here is for like PE ratios, dividend yields. You can scan for companies with essentially what else can you scan for? I'm trying to think. PE ratios, dividend yields, book cash values, stuff like that to see how healthy a company is. Personally, I use the studies filter and the options filter and the add filter for stock. If you add the study filter, this is what you'll see. And generally, you come to the customize tab to build your own specific criterias. You can, on the other hand, use theirs. There are some that I use, like let's say RSI to keep it simple. You can do crossovers, you can do corporate actions, you can do almost anything. So I'm going to just roughly tell you how to build your own custom scan. So go to Study Filter, Custom. And when you hit Custom, you'll see this ADX crossover. That's the default. You edit that, and I'm just going to build a 920 crossover. And basically, when you edit, you're going to see this, and you want to change that. So click the drop-down menu here. Click Study, because you want to do it moving average exponential. Look up Study, so you can type it, or you can just scroll down and look for it. I typed it, moving average exponential, put 9, and I want it to cross above the 20, right? That's the whole purpose of this. So I just select what I want, crosses above the, and I'm going to put the condition as 20 EMA. And I put it as 20 EMA. Click OK. And there you go. It's at the top right now. It says moving exponential average crosses above another moving exponential average. So that will find anything that moves from 9 over the 20, which is a bullish criteria. And as you can see, I also put an RSI of 14, and I put above the 50 because anything above the 50 is kind of considered bullish as well. So I scan for that, and what happens is this pencil tool here allows you to edit them. This D here tells you what time frame do you want to scan on, whether it's the daily, the 1 minute, the 5 minute. Make sure you change that according to what you want it. You can also include or exclude pre-market and aftermarket. So make sure, if you want to do that, make sure you do that. And then you can tell where to scan, whether you want to scan on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, ARCA, you want to scan just on the S&P 500s, S&P 100s, it's all up to you. Or only scan the market that has options attached to the underlying, which I do a lot. And then you can do the option scanner as well. That's more of the Greeks and the things associated to the options. So a lot of the time, I'm like, you know what? I want to be looking for high volatility options because I want to sell premium, right? Anything above that, below that, sorry. And that's it. And the fundamentals is what I explained. Like you can scan for certain companies with certain fundamentals, whether it's dividend yield, book value or EPS numbers, you can do that. So basically, that's all I have to say. There's 1,001 things more that I'm sure I forgot that I probably wanted to tell you guys. But I can't remember anything off the top of my head right now. Oh, the watch list? You guys can create your own watch lists, by the way. Come in here, create. I like to personally watch certain things. Nothing is on here because this is. I do recommend this, guys, since you guys play large caps to or some options, but go to indicators and decode all of this. And by decode, I mean go find out what these are because these are really, really important to market breadth. For example, this is the advanced decline line differential. So I can look at this on a brief, and in one brief second, I know where the market is going, and that's the entire New York Stock Exchange. That's not just like, oh, I think the S&P is going up, or I think the S&P is going down. I can look at, oh, look, the tick value. How many companies are ticking up in sync, and how many are ticking down? So make sure you go over this. Go through. I wouldn't say the entire list, but go through what you want to track in terms of market breadth. Anything with a Q is a composite. Anything with this S&P is for S&P. Anything with, I think, a D is the Dow Jones. Don't quote me on that. They all have, let's say, for example, it's going to be tick. The tick will be default to NYC, but if you wanted the one for the S&P, it would be tick S&P. If you want one for the Dow Jones, it would be tick D, and et cetera, et cetera. So they all have their suffix in the back of them to tell you what they are associated to. So that's basically it. I'll stick around for questions. I will also let the YouTube catch up, so I'll be in Discord when you probably hear this.